Hello DIYers, today I'll show you the wrong way to do an oil change on an Audi. That's right, we're going to jack up the car and drain the oil from the oil pan. We're working on a 2017 Audi A4 Quattro 2.0T. It's a B9 with the E8 888 TFSI engine. This video will show you how to waste time jacking up the car, removing the skid plate, getting a special tool to remove the drain plug, and then putting everything back together. This is my personal car and I'm doing this video for science only. I usually follow Audi's recommendation and use a vacuum extractor like you see here, along with all the other tools and parts that you'll need to change the oil the more traditional way. For the sake of science though, I'm going to first extract the oil in this video so that you can see how much oil is actually in the drain pan when we go and drain it. So with that intro out of the way, let's dive into the DIY steps for how to do an oil change properly on an Audi A4. If your car has been sitting overnight, step 0 will be to warm up the car so that the oil flows more freely. 5 to 10 minutes is good, or you'll risk the oil getting too hot. After shutting off the car, the latch to pop the hood is located here, and we'll pull that to release the hood. The hood lever is right here on the front. You push it to the side, and then just pull on it to open the hood. The hood is on struts, so it stays open by itself. The filter housing is located here underneath the engine cover, and the engine cover is really easy to pop off. It's only held on by rubber grommets, so you just give it a little tug and it comes right off. The oil filter housing needs a 32mm socket in order to come off. I have this oil filter socket set from Gear Wrench, which is great to have around if you work on different European cars, including BMWs and Volvos. I'll have links to the description below to it and some other tool options if you want to use the same tools I use for my cars. We're going to break the housing loose, unscrew it, and just leave it upside down so it drains. Loosening it is how we open the anti-drain back valve. This system keeps oil in the filter even when it's upside down, so we want to make sure that old oil makes it back to the oil pan. While that does its thing, we'll set up the extractor, and again, just for science. I'll show the drain plug steps after this, or feel free to skip ahead with the chapter markers I put in all my videos. The dipstick tube is located here, and we'll remove the cap. Modern Audis don't have dipsticks. The oil level is checked with electronic sensors, and I'll show you that at the end of the video when I reset the oil life monitor. But it's interesting to me that they left the tube kind of like they want people to extract the oil this way. Maybe? I'll fast forward through the extraction since I have a whole separate video guide for that. It's really simple though. You just stick the extractor tube down the dipstick tube, and after a few pumps, the extractor works like a siphon and continues to extract all the oil out of the oil pan. If you want to see the full video on that extraction process, the video will be in the description below, or in this link up here in the top right corner. Okay, and now that that's done, we can check how much oil came out of the A4, which the last time I changed the oil was 5.5 quarts. These lines represent liters, and it looks like we're about 2/10 higher than the fifth line. So about 5.2 liter, which does convert to about 5.5 quarts. I'm not sure how much oil is going to come out of the drain pan, but my guess is almost nothing. But let's keep going and see for ourselves. The next step is to jack up the car. We'll put some wheel chocks against the back tires just in case. The jack points are located here. Here's the passenger side, and here's the driver's side. At home, you likely only need to jack up one side. But since I'm filming, I'm going to jack up both sides to have as much space as possible underneath. This will also keep the oil pan level so that the skeptics have one less thing to comment about. Leave a comment below. My 3-ton low-profile jack is from Harbor Freight. It's totally fine for DIY use. And this particular one goes on sale for around $100, so look around for coupons and sales at your local Harbor Freight. Once the jack does its job, we'll also put a jack stand in place. I like to use the point here where the frame meets the suspension. We'll lower the jack so that the car rests on the jack stand. And we'll do the same thing for the other side, except as we place the jack stand, we'll also leave the jack in place, holding about 5% of the weight as an extra precaution. It never hurts to be safe when working under a couple tons of weight. Now we're ready to remove the underbody panel. We technically haven't even started the oil change yet, but we'd basically be done by now with the extraction method. I just wanted to point that out since we're probably already halfway through this video, depending on how the editing goes. The underbody panel is held on by both Torx fasteners and regular metric bolts. The Torx fasteners are a combination of T20s and T25s, as well as a 13mm bolt head for the other fastener. And let's do our best to point out where all the fasteners are. This shot here with my phone should give you a POV of where all the different fasteners are, and feel free to pause if you want to see it in more detail. So let's start loosening all the bolts, and I'll speed things up and fast cut through this. Now that all the bolts are loose, we'll also need a panel popper to remove this skid plate. I'm sure you could also just pull it, but I don't want to damage my underbody panel. I plan to put this back and not touch it for a long time after this video. Once you pop off the panel, you'll see that it falls right off. And with that done, the oil pan is here, which, yes, is fully plastic. And for the sake of the experiment, let's confirm that the drain pan is level, which will ensure that we didn't cheat if no oil comes out of the drain pan. And now we'll start draining the oil by removing the drain plug. The plastic drain plug needs a special tool, and that looks like this. There's a couple different versions available to purchase online, and I chose to go with the metal one that works with 1/4-inch ratchets. But there are some cheap plastic versions available as well. I'll have links in the description if you want to pick one of them up. Again, the drain plug is supposed to be single use. They're about $5 to $10 depending on where you buy them, and if you did buy a drain plug, you technically don't need a special tool to remove the old one. You can just jam a large flathead into the plug and crank it out. But the tool does make things simple and keeps the plug undamaged if you want to keep it as a spare. So let's remove the drain bolt. I'm sure you're as curious as I am on if any oil is going to be coming out after the extraction. We'll put an oil catch pan underneath, and I have a little transparent plastic container so we can see how much oil comes out. And there you go. While it's more oil than I would have guessed, I'm still not sure spending the extra time draining the oil from the oil pan so that you can get these 3 or 4 ounces of oil was actually worth it. And it's probably safe to assume that any more oil coming out is just the oil draining back from the block at this point. So I'll go ahead and put the new drain bolt back in. And here's where I'm glad I kept the old drain plug intact. While I do have a new plug, I totally messed up by trying to torque it based on numbers I referenced on the internet. I definitely overdid it and stripped the new plastic drain bolt. So here I am reusing the old one because I don't have a choice. I did swap in the O-ring from the new drain plug though, just to give myself the best chance that everything seals properly. As far as I can tell, don't trust any torque specifications you see online for the drain plug. You basically feel the plug locking in with the last quarter turn, and after that, it can't be tightened anymore by hand. If you do go harder than you need to, it's just going to strip the drain plug, like I did. And as a best practice, before we put everything back on, let's proceed with the oil change so that we can come back and take a look to make sure nothing is leaking before we finish up. So let's finish replacing the oil filter, which has been draining this whole time. The Mon filter kit comes with everything you need. The part number again is here. The old filter looks good. I don't see any shiny metal bits in the filter. The old O-ring comes off with a small screwdriver or pick. The new O-ring goes on like this. Make sure it sits properly in this groove here and not farther down. Then we could put the new filter on. The filter goes on in either direction and you'll feel it pop into place. Since the filter goes on upside down, we can't really pre-fill it even if we wanted to, and I'll pass on trying to pre-soak the filter without making a mess. And before we screw it back into place, let's also make sure to put a little oil on the O-ring to help it seat properly. The torque specification for the oil filter housing is actually written on the housing itself. It's 25 Newton meters or about 18 foot-pounds. With that done, we can fill the oil. The A4 needs 5.5 quarts of 5W30 weight oil, which meets the VW 502-505 oil standards. At least that's the specification for 2017. I know that newer car models actually have the upgraded standard. I'm using Castrol Edge, which is what Audi recommends as well. So let's go ahead and fill the oil. We'll put the full 5-quart bottle in, and I have a half quart left over from the last time I did an oil change. So even though it looks like I'm putting a full quart in, it's actually the half that we need to get to 5.5 quarts. We'll start the car and give everything a quick visual check. The oil filter housing looks good, dipstick tube is back on, and the oil cap is locked in. Last but not least, let's take a look at the drain plug underneath the car and make sure it's good. So far, so good. It looks like the one-time use plug can be reused in a pinch. Your mileage may vary, but I'm really glad to have had it as a spare. Now again, there's no manual way to check the oil, so for now, we can wipe everything up and put everything back on. The beauty cover pops back in just like this. We'll give it a little thump to help it seat properly. And then we'll put the underbody panel back on. I'm tempted to not fast cut through this so that you can see in real time how painful it is to do this, especially for the first time. But I won't do that to you. Since most of them are Torx fasteners, I'll just note the couple of unique ones again. The first is the torque fasteners on the side that kind of act like a panel push pin, and then of course the 13mm bolts and their location, just in case you need that again. And if you're doing this yourself like I'm doing, I had luck putting in the 13mm bolts in first, then worrying about everything else once the panel stayed up by itself. With that done, we can remove the jack stands and lower the car. And don't forget the wheel chocks too. Checking the oil level requires driving the car for a couple minutes to warm up the oil. So let me first show you how to reset the oil life monitor. You do that by navigating to the main menu, going to Services and Checks, and then the service intervals. From there, you can reset the service interval like I'm doing here. Now I'll go drive the car for a couple minutes, and for safety reasons, I'll do that off camera. Okay, I'm back. I turned off the car for a couple minutes, and now I can key on engine off and check the oil level. You do that by going to the same Services and Check menu and just going to the oil level. So here, the oil level looks good. So do I have any conclusions about changing the oil the traditional way versus the extraction method? As you can see here, I'm not sure the extra effort was worth the 5 ounces or so of oil. And thinking back on it, it took me so long to set up the car on jack stands because of the extra time it took figuring out the shot and the lighting, that much of the oil in the pan that didn't get extracted properly was just the block continuing to drain. If that's the case, then that truly is nominal oil that remains during any oil change using any method. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed me wasting my time changing the oil the wrong way on my 2017 Audi A4. All kidding aside, this video is still a full guide on how to do an oil change via the drain pan. So if you're watching this video because you're trying to DIY, by all means, do whatever you feel is best. It's ultimately your car. My only goal is for one of my DIY guides to have helped you in your journey, so thanks for watching. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. I'm Alan, and this is Metaloop.